Hello, I'm Nate with Nifty LED. Today we're going to be installing some LEDs on this Lord of the Rings pinball machine, and I will be showing you how to do it, what we think looks best, what we think doesn't look so great, and how you can get the most out of your LEDs for your pinball machine, whether it's Lord of the Rings or any other type of game. The previous owner started an LED job on this game and didn't complete it. The ones that they put in look good, so we'll leave those, but we'll explain what they did, why we think they look good, and again, what else you could use as an alternative. So let's get right into it. One of the first things to consider when looking at this game is that there's a lot of clear inserts. When you have clear inserts, you could either change them to color with different color LEDs, or you can keep them white. If you decide to keep them white, then there's a choice of whether or not to keep them cool white or warm white. Because this game has sort of a old, nostalgic, sort of medieval feel to it, I think that a warm white would look best in this game, and so that's what we're going to be putting in there today. Since there aren't a lot of colored inserts for the Lord of the Rings, we're pretty much going to stick to the colors that pertain to the inserts. So for green inserts, we'll use a green LED. For red inserts, we'll use a red LED. For the clears, we're going to use the warm white, as we explained earlier. And again, pretty much color for color. The exception to that is going to be the oranges and the yellows, which we will use a warm white on. And we'll go into detail on why we're doing that a little bit later. You can see I have my paintbrush so that I can clean any inserts that are dirty as I'm pulling the bulb out. I've also got my gloves on. It just makes cleanup a little bit easier, and a lot of the bulbs that you pull out will be pretty dirty, so it just makes it a little easier instead of having to wash off a lot of dirt off your hands once you're finished. Here I wanted to show you a video in real time that you can see just how quick it can be to install your LEDs. It doesn't need to be a really long and drawn out process unless you want to make it that way, and just take your time and go through every bulb slowly. But you can see that it takes a fairly short amount of time. Take the bulb out, swap it out with the LED. This insert looks good, so we don't need to clean it out. Replace it. The socket was a little bit loose, so we'll go ahead and tighten that up. Next one. And what I'm doing is just checking the color as I pull the bulb out. I can see what color the insert is, and I just move along. Pull it out. Clear insert, looks clean. LED goes in. We're using warm white for the clears. Then we move on to the next one. This one's yellow. Again, we're using warm white for the yellows. And we'll go into that a little bit more. Insert's clean, don't need to clean it. This one's orange. Again, we're using warm white for orange. Goes in. This is a red insert. You can see it goes pretty quickly. In a matter of, say, a minute, I changed about 6 sockets, 6 LEDs, so it's a pretty quick process. So here's a good example of where we can use a flex LED as opposed to a standard LED or a frosted LED. So because this insert faces to the side, if we were to put a super bright, which has no cap, the light would just shine this way. If we put a cap, we would get some spread of light, but it wouldn't fill the insert as much as a flex. So what we'll do is we'll use a flex, take out the old bulb that's burned out, and we have our flex LED, which you can see bends and flexes, and we can position it to where we want it. So we'll install it with the LED pointing towards the playfield as much as possible, and then we can always reposition the head so that it shines where we want it later. As you can see, putting it right in doesn't really give us what we want, so we will bend the socket back a little bit, and we will adjust the head. And you can see the halo or the glow around the insert to see exactly how much light is filling the insert. The general illumination is usually much easier to get to from underneath the playfield. Some people will find themselves taking off all of the plastics just to get to the bulbs, and that's completely unnecessary in most newer games. An exception to that would be some of the Data East games, but as you can see, they're screwed on with a 1/4 inch nut driver, And what we can do is just access it from under the playfield. Now again, we like to do this with the game turned off so that we don't short anything. If you carefully remove it, the screw typically stays in with this little rubber, and then the bulb can be taken in, pushed out, replaced. So it just saves you a lot of time instead of having to remove everything off of the playfield. You can see we have two of the same colored inserts as you go up these two different paths. The warm whites I've left alone, but I've changed the yellows and I've changed the oranges. So the yellows have been changed to, this is actually a yellow LED and this is actually an orange LED. Over here we have warm white and warm white. Now the yellow is kind of dark. It's not really a yellow, it's more of an orange, and then the orange is more of an amber. So it gets really dark, and overall we find that keeping it warm white tends to render the color a little bit better through the insert. So I'll slow down the video so that you can see them without them flashing so quickly, but and it might be hard to see in the video, but typically people gravitate towards this color yellow and this color orange more than these ones. These sort of darken up the playfield a bit too much. So here, take a look.